As the general of the Terran army, you must wage war against the Protoids, destroy their bases and reign supreme. This is my review of Planet X2, a real-time strategy game developed by David Murray, otherwise known as the 8-bit guy, for the Commodore 64.
Before I start the review, I want to mention that this is a beta or pre-release copy that David has sent me for review. So there are some bugs that I encountered in this game that are fixed in the final release that you'll be playing if you decide to pick the game up. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the review. Welcome to Planet X2. The basic strategy is to locate and gather resources, build your base and your offensive units, and destroy the enemy. Resources come in the form of minerals, rocks, and crystals. Methane gas is located on these volcano-looking vents, and energy from the sun needs to be collected in order to build your structures and units. Each structure and unit you build uses resources, so it's important to start building your supply up. Your builder units will gather your materials. They will also mow through trees and be used for exploration of the map. Be careful though, builders have no offensive capabilities at all and are exposed if close to enemy units. A factory is your main building and will store all your materials that you've gathered and will allow you to construct more builders and tank units. You can build more than one factory. When the enemy wipes out all your factories, the game is over. Solar panels can be built to gather energy. You can create solar panels anywhere on the map that you've discovered. The more solar panels you build, the faster your energy supplies will increase. Tanks and missile silos are your offensive options. Tanks can fire at anything. Press space and then select your target and then press space again to fire. You can double tap space to repeat the same attack. Tanks can also self-destruct that causes a large explosion and will destroy everything in its radius. Finally, a tank can be locked down and turn into sentry mode that will guard the area around it. Tanks and builders can't cross water, so you will need to build bridges. Some enemy bases are behind water, so this is necessary in order to push forward to locate and attack the enemy. You can even build a wall around your base which will keep the enemy out, but at the cost of minerals and time. Missile silos are used to build and launch missiles. With no limit on their range, they pack a devastating punch and can wipe out an enemy base from afar. However, you must locate your enemy base first. Sending out tanks or builders to scout ahead while building missile silos is my strategy of choice, but be warned, the enemy has its own plans to take you out. The enemy Protoid base consists of a pyramid guarded by sentry pods. These pods will attack any Terran unit that gets close enough. Just like the Terran factories, the Protoids can build more than one pyramid, and each pyramid can have its own sentry pods. The Protoids will send out scouts to look for your base. They can also sabotage and destroy your refineries, solar panels, and tanks. With the ability to swim across water, they don't travel in large groups, and it's easy to miss them because you may not always know when they are attacking. In order to beat the Protoids, you must destroy all of their pyramids. This is a real-time strategy game for the Commodore 64 that's very fun and addictive. If you are a fan of Dune 2 or StarCraft, you will feel right at home here. Technically, it's very impressive that a game like this is even possible on the C64. The 8-bit guy makes a claim that it's possibly the only real-time C64 strategy game around, and he might be right. There are 10 different maps to play and 3 difficulty settings. A single game can easily reach 20 minutes or longer.
And there's that just one more game addictive quality about it. The game was written in 100% assembly language and it runs really well. It's also a true multitasking game. By that I mean you can switch units and structures anytime you like, even if they are occupied. I found the easy difficulty a good introduction to get used to the game because there is a learning curve. You need to sink some time into this one. If you're expecting to master and get good at this game on your first try, then this may not be the right game for you. It took me 6 attempts to defeat the Protoids, but the first time I won, it was a great feeling. And there you go, victory! We ended up beating the Protoids on that map. Medium and hard settings really increase the difficulty. You begin with much less resources in medium, and on hard, you begin with none. Gathering resources needs to be the first order of business in order for you to win. The user interface has been influenced by the Ultima games, and the control is entirely keyboard driven. The keyboard control feels very natural. I really appreciate the WASD keyboard movement too. Once you learn the keyboard, you will be selecting, moving, and building units and structures in no time. The manual is very well put together. David even talks about the design and development decisions he made about the game and goes into some detail in how he squeezed it all into 64 kilobytes of memory. There has been a lot of care and attention put into this game, everything from the game itself to the box art and packaging. It's not a perfect game, however. There are a few things or an extra bit of polish I wish the game had that I want to talk about. Once you've learned how to beat an enemy on a map, you've effectively trivialized that map. If you repeat your steps, you will win every single time. This is due to the fact that the enemy bases and your base spawns in exactly the same XY coordinates. However, the game has 10 maps to pick from, so this isn't a huge deal. Each map has its own enemy placement, so exploring and winning on all the maps will take you many hours. So just move on to the next map and on to the next challenge. The in-game music is very repetitive and gets on your nerves pretty quick. The tune is great, but feels unfinished. This may be due to memory limitations, but every good C64 game needs a good SID soundtrack. You will find most likely turning the music off pretty quickly. Just press M to switch to sound effects. I will say that because I'm playing a beta release, that this may change for the final release. But to help with this, the game does come with a complete soundtrack on MP3 and cassette to listen to as you play the game. So I recommend you do that instead, and keep the sound effects turned on. I also want to talk about the loading speed. On a real C64, Planet X2 loads fairly quick. When you start a game, there is an additional load for the map. One thing that could be improved is that once you've ended a game and you start a new one with the same map, currently it loads it from disk all over again. On a real C64, this is a 25-second delay, and additional wear on the disk and the disk drive. What I'd like to see is if the map is already loaded into the C64's memory, it shouldn't require a needless disk access to load the same map from the disk all over again. If you win or lose a game, no matter the outcome, you will see a summary screen. I'd like to see a nice graphic victory screen that rewards you for defeating the enemy. There really needs to be some randomness to the bases, not always have them spawn in the same location, but maybe within a small vicinity. It's too easy to build missiles and launch them at your enemy for a quick victory once you've learned their location. I'd also like to see some additional gamification added. For example, a high score table would be cool, your best times on an individual map for a particular difficulty level, or maybe some overarching statistics on the number of wins, losses, and rage quits you've had with a disk save to persist them all. But these things don't detract from a very good game. There is real tension and excitement when you see the Protoids coming to attack your base, or when you are primed and ready to launch a missile strike on the enemy.
It's taken the 8-bit guy almost a year to develop this game, and it shows.
So, in conclusion, what do I think about Planet X2 for the Commodore 64? Well, I think this is a great game, and I think you should go pick it up and support homebrew development in 2017, as well as the 8-bit guy. He's put so much care and attention into this game, and it shows. Everything from the packaging, the game, the manual, the cassette, just the little extras that you get when you buy this game, is really something you can tell he's put so much care and attention, and he wants this game to be successful, and I think it will be. I think it's a good enough game to really be successful, and I wish him the best of luck. Now, he also mentioned to me that if the game is successful and it does sell well, he will consider an enhanced version for another system. I would like to see an enhanced version for the Commodore 128 that has the ability to control units with a 1351 Commodore mouse, as well as some additional randomization to the map so the enemies don't always spawn in the same location every single time. I think that would be kind of cool. As well as a campaign mode where you can actually kind of go through the maps in some type of story mode. I did ask how long the development time was, and he told me that it was about a year in the making. And, you know, he took on the undertaking of the box and the manual and the cassettes all himself. I think initially he was going to do a Kickstarter to kind of raise money and do it that way, but he's taken it on himself, and that's a bit of a gamble. I mean, there's nothing certain in this world, and, you know, if the game doesn't sell as many copies as he expects, then he's not going to make money out of it. In fact, he's going to lose money. But I think this game is a great game. Definitely support it, because you're supporting homebrew development, you're supporting the C64, and you're supporting the 8-bit guy, which is a great YouTube channel and a great YouTuber. Now, I tested this game on a Commodore C64C PAL version and a Commodore C64C NTSC and a Commodore 128D and an SX64, and the game works fine on all of those machines. So if you're worried about PAL versus NTSC compatibility issues, rest assured the game works fine on everything I tried. It even supports the SD2 IEC 1541 floppy emulator and the 1541 Ultimate 2 cartridge. So compatibility is 100% across the board, at least with all the systems that I tried playing this game on. And also, you will receive a D64 ROM image to play on your favorite emulator. And I actually recommend something like Vice on the PC or Mac. And if you're playing on an Amiga, you can use something like the Magic C64 emulator. The game runs fine on that as well. I've tested that as well. Well, that will about do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you thought about this review in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.